Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the secrets hidden in plain sight. This latest report from OpGen Incorporated is a wild ride, promising a name change and a whole new business direction. Let's see if their financials can keep up with the hype before we dive in. If you love getting the real story behind corporate filings, make sure you are subscribed. And hey, we have a fantastic community over on our Discord server, linked in the description below. Come join the conversation. Alright, let's get straight into what OpGen Incorporated, now looking to become CapForce Incorporated, is telling us. This is a proxy statement, which basically means they're asking shareholders to vote on some pretty significant changes. Think of it as a company's annual checkup, but with some major surgery planned. The very first thing they are confirming is that this is a definitive proxy statement, meaning it is the real deal, not a preliminary draft. They're also indicating that no fee is required for this filing, which is standard for these types of reports. This document is dated the 10th of February 2026, and it is calling for their 2025 annual meeting of stockholders to be held on the 23rd of February 2026. So, things are happening fast after year end. Now, for the big agenda items, they're proposing an entirely new plan, the 2026 Equity Incentive Plan. This is essentially a way for the company to grant stock and stock options to employees and executives to incentivize them and align their interests with shareholders. It seems like a pretty standard move, especially when a company is looking to bring in new talent or retain key people. Then there is the warrant exercise proposal. This is about approving the issuance of up to 889,274 shares of their common stock from some warrants they previously issued. Warrants are basically options to buy stock at a certain price, and this proposal means they're looking to unlock those shares. This is important because it can dilute existing shareholders' ownership if not managed carefully. And here it is, the name change proposal. They want to go from OpGen Incorporated to CapForce Incorporated. This usually signals a pretty big shift in the company's business or its future direction. They're basically saying the old name just does not fit the new business they are building. They are also asking for an advisory vote on executive compensation, often called a say on pay. This is where shareholders get to weigh in, unofficially, on how much the top executives are being paid. Finally, they want to ratify the appointment of Beckles Sude Amp Company Incorporated as their independent accounting firm for the fiscal year ending the 31st of December 2025. It is like getting the official stamp of approval from the auditors. Let's break down some of the key questions who can vote. Anyone who owns shares by the 5th of January 2026. How do you vote? You can do it online, by phone, or by mail. The meeting itself will be a virtual one, held online, making it accessible to more people. Looking at who owns the company, AI Capital Limited is a major player holding a significant chunk of shares. It is interesting to note that Mr. John Tan Hon Jian, a director and former CEO, is actually the ultimate beneficial owner of AI Capital Limited. That really consolidates power and influence. Burpee shares of 40pp common stock, 40pp 7,724,728 TPP percentage, 30pp beneficially owned, 30pp 75.65.65p p% IP. This massive 75.65% ownership by AI Capital Limited clearly makes this a controlled company. P chairman of the board of directors, B Mr. John Tan Hon Jian, the chairman of the board, brings a wealth of experience in corporate strategy and private equity. He has been involved in a huge number of deals, and his group manages over $3 billion in assets. His background as a lawyer and his extensive international business experience paint a picture of someone who knows their way around complex transactions. Now let's peek at the executive compensation. The numbers here are a bit different from what you might expect. For 2025, John Tan Hon Jian, who was CEO until December 2025, has a total compensation listed as $25,000. Christian Laurent Benoit Bonte, who took over as CEO in December 2025, has $13,000 for 2025. Mohd Ajam Azuddin, the Chief Operating Officer, has $12,500 for 2025. This seems surprisingly low, especially given the company's plans for growth and the incentive plans being proposed. Key salary simply be $CP 13,000 MBP. The salary column for Christian Laurent Benoit Bonte shows $13,000. This is the base compensation. It is quite low for a CEO, especially when considering the company's ambition to pivot into a digital investment banking and fintech space. P other brew compensation IMPP dollar, CP 25,000. Debbie Mr. John Tan Hon Jian's. All other compensation for 2025 is $25,000. The filing states this represents amounts paid for consulting services by each consultant. It suggests that the leadership might be compensated more, through consulting fees or other arrangements outside of a traditional salary. This is where things get interesting. The pay versus performance table shows how compensation actually paid relates to the company's financial performance. And for OpGen Incorporated, it looks like the connection between pay and performance is pretty loose, at least based on these numbers. P summary Bearer compensation bearer table for PAYO CPB1, CPP 475,136 EDP for 2025. The summary compensation table for the Principal Executive Officer, or PAYO, is 475,136. This is the total compensation reported. Noticeably, the compensation actually paid to PAYO is also listed as 475,136. This indicates that for this year, the compensation actually paid closely aligns with the reported summary compensation, likely because most of it was in forms that vest or are realized over time. P1000s, GTP 23,989 for EDP. The net income for 2025 is reported at $23,989,000. So roughly $24 million. This is a significant positive turn from the previous year. P summary brewery compensation brewery table for PAYO CPB1. CBP 17,143 TB in 2024. The summary compensation table for the PAYO was 17,143. This is a much lower figure compared to 2025's reported total. P1000s, GTP 11,993 T, the net income for 2024 was $11,993,000, or about $12 million. So, while 2024 was profitable, 2025 shows a substantial increase in profitability. Let's talk about the 2026 Equity Incentive Plan again. They are asking for stockholder approval to grant 1 million shares of common stock under this plan. But here is the kicker. It also has an evergreen provision. This means that every year for the next 10 years, the number of shares available will automatically increase by 5% of the outstanding shares. This can lead to significant dilution over time if the company's stock price doesn't grow correspondingly. It is designed to keep the incentive pool topped up, but shareholders need to watch this closely as it can impact their ownership percentage. This warrant exercise proposal is a bit complex. They are essentially seeking approval to issue shares from warrants bought by an institutional investor in 2023. Offering the exercise price is $7.785 per S-share. And if all warrants are exercised, they could raise up to about $6.9 million. The failure to approve this could mean they don't get that cash, and they might have to keep calling meetings every 70 days for years, which is costly. However, approving it means more shares will be issued, diluting current ownership. This one is a bit of a cleanup operation. It is about ratifying the sale of 7,200,000 shares of common stock to EI Capital Limited back in March 2024. The main reason for this is to make sure these sales are exempt from Section 16B of the Securities Exchange Act, which deals with insider trading profits. It seems like they intended it to be exempt all along, but missed a step. And back to the name change. OpGen Incorporated is aiming to become CapForce Incorporated. This reflects their pivot from being a diagnostic life sciences company to a digital investment banking and fintech business. They've even set up a subsidiary, CapForce International Holdings Limited, to spearhead this new direction. This is a big strategic shift, and the name change is meant to signal it loud and clear. The Say on Pay proposal is an advisory vote to approve the compensation of their named executive officers. While not binding, it gives shareholders a voice. The compensation seems quite low for the top executives based on the summary compensation table, but the all other compensation and consulting fees might be where more of their earnings are. Finally, they're confirming Beckles Ciamp Company Incorporated as their auditor for 2025. The audit fees for 2024 were $109,000 and for 2025 are projected to be $27,000. This is a pretty standard part of reporting, so what is my take on all of this? OpGen Incorporated, or soon to be CapForce Incorporated, is clearly in a major transition. They've had a profitable year in 2025, a significant improvement from 2024, and they're making bold moves with a name change and a push into digital investment banking. The low reported salaries for their executives are interesting, but the extensive use of consulting fees and the potential for future equity awards under the new incentive plan suggest a different compensation structure is in place, or will be. The evergreen provision in the new incentive plan is a red flag for dilution, meaning shareholders should keep a close eye on how many new shares are issued over time. The warrant exercise proposal could bring in much needed cash, but it also means more dilution. Overall, the strategy seems ambitious, aiming for significant growth in the fintech and investment banking space. The question is whether they can execute on this vision and whether the financial performance will truly match the rebranded aspirations. It is a high, Stakes gamble and the market will be watching. Alright, that is our breakdown of OpGen Incorporated's latest filings. What is your take on these changes and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into the corporate world. And don't forget to join our growing community on Discord. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Corporate Decoder.